Hey everyone, we are so excited to the reaction in the community for the pod. I need to take a moment of your time to tell you to please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or hit the follow button on Spotify. We are in the humble beginning stage of our show and establishing a listener base is of paramount importance and will help us determine the frequency of future episodes. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to Neuse Podcast, an audio program discussing the almost 50-year history of Neuse Theater and the backstage antics and stories that come along with running a community theater in a small town. I'm your host, Matt Gore, and we are coming to you from NLT's stage and base of operations, the little log cabin located on the banks of the Neuse River in Smithfield, North Carolina. We lovingly refer to it as the Hut. All right, everybody. We hope out there in the audience everybody is doing well and staying safe, and I hope a good portion of our audience is maybe signing up to get their vaccinations. We are going to bring it back to the NLT family here for this episode, and I'm very excited to have someone I've known for a couple of years now, and in fact have been, I believe, instrumental in introducing her to her husband. Eventually,
yeah.
Yeah, and she is a bright, smiling face around here. I enjoy talking to her every time I see her, and she's just a wonderful person, has a wonderful heart. And I want to welcome Nichole Braswell to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me. And yes, you are the theater matchmaker, aren't you?
Well, good. Yeah, it's happened more than once.
A few times.
But we'll get to that. Don't worry, it's on my list here. So I wanted to get into the podcast and have you in here. Like, okay, so first of all, I got to say, were you mad that I got Shaun on here before you on here?
Oh no, totally expected.
No, he said you were mad. Not mad, but you know.
Not mad. I was like, oh, well, so you're going to interview with who? But not me?
I know.
Yeah. So.
Because I guess the first one our first guests were Darius and Teresa, and that had been a couple. And by the time I had gotten around to Shaun, it was our fourth episode, and we were still messing with the format a little bit. And then along the way, we just discovered that it was just easier with one person.
Oh, but Mary Lee is awesome.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they are two peas in the pod. They're
no, that was actually Mina's
yeah.
suggestion, bringing in Shaun and Mary Lee.
Oh, okay, so it's Mina's fault.
Yes.
So no, it was just like he's like, well, it's just me. It's Mary Lee. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's cool. It's fine.
It's cool.
Love her. She's awesome. Okay.
She's great. She's great.
Yeah.
Mary's great.
I'd almost would rather do the podcast with Mary Lee than just kidding.
I'm surprised he's not here tonight, to be honest.
He is. They are having a show at his theater out in Wilson, so he is working.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
You're in rehearsals for a show yourself right now, aren't you?
Yes, I am in rehearsals with the Center Stage Theater out in Goldsboro. The play is Play On.
Yes, it's kind of like a play within a play.
Play within a play, yes.
This theater troupe is trying to put on a play, and everything goes wrong.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's being directed by Keith Parrish.
Yeah, my good friend Keith Parrish, he and his wife have recently just recovered from COVID-19. They're back up and running. They're both back at work, and he directed the play via Zoom for about a week there, and I'm sure that was an interesting experience.
That was interesting, but I love the dedication, which was great. You know, he does have an assistant director, Kathy Woods, yes. Kathy, yes, and so of course she was there, but we were setting up the laptop, and he was watching and giving direction. Of course, it's during blocking that he's quarantining home, so we still got the direction and it still worked out. Of course, he wanted us to be louder, but what director doesn't want their actors to be louder? Louder. So and then came back this week and just kept it moving.
Well, so he's back to in-person rehearsals now, right?
Yes, he's came back this week. They're all cleared and tested negative and all that good stuff. So we're all still keeping with COVID restrictions. We wear masks during rehearsals, everybody, and we have our temperatures checked when we walk through the door, sanitize before we leave, and keep the social distancing going.
Sounds fun. Now, when is that play going up?
Opening night is February 25th. and runs through the 28th. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday starts 7:30 p.m. and then Sunday the 28th starts 3 o'clock.
Gotcha. And that's at the Wayne County Museum?
Yes,
in
it is.
Goldsboro, North Carolina. That's located in downtown Goldsboro, North Carolina, near the police station and near the courthouse.
Yes.
In the post office.
In the post office.
Yeah, the post office is there too.
There's a Hardee's down the street also.
Yeah. Anyways,
if you can't find it now, you weren't meant to be there.
yeah. As Mita said before, we can't drive you there. That's been your first play since doing this, back at it since this whole pandemic thing.
Yes, I was in Flung,
Uh-huh.
which happened right when, I mean, we finished up right when everything was shutting down. So, because that was in February of last year, so it's been a year.
What was it like for you to jump back on stage again after such a long absence?
Oh gosh, exciting. I am, the whole pandemic stuff is I'm an extrovert. I was not wired to not be out and not be around people, but, so just been home and I work from home. So I do have that luxury.
Right.
But at the same time, I like to be out and about and with people. So when I saw the auditions coming up and, I texted you, hey, who's directing? You said it was Keith. I knew it would be a comfortable and safe environment because I know that Keith and Karen take it very seriously. So it was exciting and nervous at the same time, but very comfortable and respectful environment. So it's a new theater for me because I'm, NLT all the way. Can't wait for these doors to open as well. But it's exciting and, it's still different in the environment that we have right now. But happy to be around adult human beings.
Yeah. So I believe by the time your episode goes up, NLT will have some sort of plans for what's in place next, either that be streaming or whatever.
Right.
So we'll still have some idea in the weeks coming forward. So let's move on. Now, I do want to eventually get back around to Flung, but let's start back at the beginning at the Neuse Little Theater. What's your first experience here at Neuse Little Theater, as I ask most of our guests?
First experience was my first audition ever, and that was for A Little Murder Never Hurt Anyone.
That was my very first play as a director here.
Yes.
That was in 2014, and yeah, I do remember this, but I didn't. You changed your hair, and I didn't know that was you.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, I thought you were a different person, but we'll get into that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was my first experience, and just NLT is just nothing but welcoming. Didn't know anybody. I mean, I used the GPS to get here from Clayton. I never came to Smithfield. So, I mean, I found out it's right down the street. So, just auditioned, had a great time, and, was offered the part. Had to turn it down. Got scolded by the director that you should always know what you're getting into before you audition for a part. Like, if you have to kiss somebody.
That was me, yeah. Yeah, I guess.
It was a loving scold.
I remember our
It's
conversation.
okay.
I tried to put it as lightly as possible, but I mean, how many people have access to the "A Little Murder Never Hurt Anybody" script? I'm just like, so most people don't just buy the script off Amazon and read it,
Right.
Because what if they don't get a part? They wasted.
But it was
$15.
serendipitous. It was very serendipitous because, like you said, I met my husband here, and I would have met him there.
Yeah, he was in that show.
You cast him as the love interest, or the fiance that I would have been making out with.
Yeah.
And I was in another relationship at the time, and if I had met him then, we probably wouldn't be where we are now.
You say that, but is that true? You wouldn't eventually gotten together. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't have gotten together then, as you said, but I feel that there would have been a connection established, right?
I don't know, because I mean we're, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to say that we're meant to be together. So it just wasn't the right time for either one of us. We always look back and we talk about that. And, again, I was married at the time. It wasn't just, relationship. I was married. And that's why I turned down the role, because my husband at the time was not comfortable with me kissing. And I was like, it's just acting, whatever, no big deal. And then I found out, after Shaun and I were engaged, that it was him. And I was like, oh, that might have been a big deal.
Yeah, I had to shift things around after that. Yeah.
There definitely would have been a connection. But again, that's not, I'm just like, I did make a joke because I might have been divorced sooner, but whatever. But it happened the way that it was supposed to happen, in my opinion, because then the next time, I'm now single, and I'm like, you know what, I missed that opportunity to be on stage, and I've always wanted to do a play since I was little. No experience whatsoever. The only time I was on stage was in band, because I played the clarinet. So that's when I saw the audition for Always a Bridesmaid. And I was like, score, it's an all-female cast. I auditioned, and there he was, standing at the door. And of course, I pulled up, and I was like, saw him, and he's like, hi, I was like, oh, he's cute. No, that you're not here for this. You're here to have a good time. But I was like, I tried my best not to fall in love with him, and it was a failed attempt.
No, I remember Shaun, because I know Shaun for a couple of years before he met you, and he was like the confirmed bachelor around the theater, and I had seen him with one or two, possibly three women, possibly three girlfriends along the way. But when he was with Nichole, I was like, something's different. He's like, this is the one for him. I just know it. I just like there's something different about Nichole, and sure enough, yeah, I just knew that there was a very strong connection there. I wasn't there during Always Surprise Me, but I had heard about the rumblings. I was like, oh my God, I think Shaun's going to settle down.
Yeah, he's my best friend. I like him.
It is always good to marry your best friend.
Yes.
Yes. I am currently engaged to my best friend, Tamara.
Yeah.
And we always talk about that, how we're actually really good friends as well as a good couple. Tamara is also in Play On, too.
Yes.
Yes, along with many other CSC favorites. So moving on, so after you guys started dating after Always a Bridesmaid, and how did how long did you guys date before you got married? I forgot. I really don't know.
Not long.
Like 40 minutes.
Something like that, maybe 45. We were, you know what? We weren't spring chickens.
Because I was like, that was June. Did you get married in 2017?
January of 2017.
So like 6 months.
6 months. Yeah. So, it was kind of like when we got together, we were like, I was 36, he was 30. No, I was 35, he was 36, and we were like, you know what? I'm not a spring chicken. Let's just get this out. Tell me everything that's going to scare me off. And he listed some stuff. I'm like, well, I can deal with that. And actually, rewind, our first date was epic. It was so good. So, we went out on a Saturday. Monday, I go to work, and the girls are like, how was your first date? I was like, it was the most Johnston County first date ever, and it was great. They're like, tell me. So, we
went to the Jug.
Yes, but
that's Shaun's hometown. So
that's our cheers. Yeah. So we had a date scheduled, and then he was, he's a director, and he was like, oh, he had to cancel because like something was happening here, and I was like, okay, whatever, maybe he's not that interested, right? So then we rescheduled it because it was during rehearsals. And we didn't have rehearsal like a Wednesday, but I think the stage was being painted that Wednesday or something like that, one of the days. I can't remember. It's been a while. So we were supposed to, he reschedules for Saturday. And then he realizes it's his cousin's graduation party. Now, Shaun's family is tight. There's a million of them, but they are very tight. Yeah. So, when we celebrate, everybody's usually there. So his cousin's graduating. He's graduating from early college, all this good stuff. So he texts me, Friday, and he's like, I forgot it's my cousin's graduation party tomorrow. And I'm like, oh great, he's gonna cancel again, I know it. And I was like, oh, okay. And he texts me back, he's like, too early to meet the family? ? And I looked at it, and I showed it to my son, who was 16 at the time, and I was like, psh, let's find out what kind of crazy he comes from. So I was like, sure, because if you could figure it out on day one, you could save yourself a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we went to his cousin's graduation party, which was at the Braswell farm, which is a 69-acre cattle farm, which was a pig picking. I am from Baltimore. There was a whole pig splayed out. Y'all know what a pig picking is. This was my first. They're digging into it. And he's, get a plate. And he goes, do you eat barbecue? And as they start spraying the vinegar all over it, I'm like, no. And then he was like, oh, okay, I'll take you home. I was like, what? He's like, just kidding. And of course, like, his uncle just puts this glob of vinegar-soaked barbecue, which there's nothing wrong with vinegar-soaked barbecue. Please do not send me an email. But up north, we don't do it that way. But I'm in the South. I got to eat like the South, right? That's how it goes. So we're having a good time. But yeah, I ate some of it. So that was phase one of the date. The next, he's like, hey, my friend is having a barn party. Do you want to go? And I'm like, what is a barn party? He goes, it's a party at a barn. And I'm like, okay.
Don't you have barns in Baltimore?
No.
Where do you guys party?
That's a secret. So we go to a barn party. They're playing cornhole. There's a swimming pool. There's a band. There's a live band playing at this place. I'm like, what is this magical thing going on here? So having a good time drinking. He's like, okay, do you want to go get some drinks? I'm like, yeah. So we end up at the Jug. And I was just like, okay, great time. It was so much fun.
Shaun's like, do you want to see my pull-out cot when I come here to sleep at
right? Yeah, no,
I'm sure
they'll let you sleep in the car.
Showed off his personalized beer cozy that he has that's over there, like the one with his name on it or something.
I haven't seen that.
Maybe he doesn't have it over there anymore.
Maybe not. So, but yeah, and then it was like he's a perfect gentleman, and I was just like, we were just having a great time. He actually convinced some other guy to try and ask me out. I went to the bathroom, and this guy was just like, oh, she da-da-da-da. Didn't know that we were on a date, and the guy just kept talking to me. And so I go to the restroom, he's like, hey, man, you should really ask her out. He probably forgets this. So true story. And this dude's like probably 15 years older than me or something to that nature. So, yeah, he convinced this guy to try to ask me out because he wanted to see what I would say.
Name's Earl. How's it going?
Yeah, so this older gentleman is telling me how nice I am and I'm such a great conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, personality, woohoo. So, and then he's just like, I was just wondering, if I could ever take you out one time. And I'm like, actually, I'm here on a date with him. And he looks at Shaun and he said,
like, hi.
He said some explicatives to him. He's like, you are such a blah, blah, blah. I was like, that was funny. And I was like, I was half tempted to look at the guy and say, sure, let's go.
Yeah.
Just to see what Shaun would do. So, yeah, that was our first date. And, he was a gentleman and, drove me home. And then, after that, he actually left. So, it was a good time. So, yeah, I went to work and told the girls. And, again, I'm working in downtown Raleigh. And they were like, so is there a second date? I was like, oh, my God, I hope so.
So I can't gauge her.
So yeah, you want to get a girl from Baltimore, there needs to be a filleted pig, a barn, and beer.
Well, I always thought it was like if I tied a little bit of Old Bay seasoning to a string and just let them along.
That would work too. Yeah, that would.
That's very effective.
Yeah, that would have. I have another story about that when it comes to crab legs. And
we might have to get back to the crab leg story. But, so you're doing Always a Bridesmaid, and that show's a big success. It's a Joan and Soap Wooten. It's a crowd-pleasing play. What was next after that?
Bloom?
Sure.
Yes, because I was pregnant with Wyatt.
Right, yeah. By this time, you guys, were you married at this point? I can't remember.
Yes.
Bloom was in March.
Yes,
so
I was married at that point.
Cool. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Oh, you had your wedding at the Hut. At the Hut.
Yes,
I
we
attended
did.
your wedding. It was awesome. Bethany Ruffino officiated. That was awesome.
It was great.
It was a very memorable wedding, and of course the ceremony was across the street at the Little Brown Jug.
In the parking lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a whole pig there, but it was definitely barbecue or barbecue chicken wings. I think it was good.
Oh yeah, Soda Sopa. They catered our wedding, so it was. They were just opening back then. They just opened up or something like that. So there was We love Soda Sopa. So.
Yes. And then along came your son Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
And he appeared in one of my plays, Double
White
Texas.
Texas.
I decided, no, the whole baby thing. There was a call for an infant in the last scene because someone in the show had a baby, and they were all cradling this baby. And I was like, well, Nichole just had a baby.
It was your fiance that had the baby.
What?
It was your fiance that had the baby.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, no, yes, my fiance played the character.
In the play.
The
part that his fiance had played in the play had a baby, not his fiance. That would.
Me and my beautiful Tamara are happily childless.
And I only got here right at intermission. That's so I could just hand him to Nancy and disappear.
Yeah, you guys worked it out beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a backup fake baby, ready to go just in case he was fussy, but he never was fussy one time. And it was worth it because Nancy, she was in the play and her character was holding the baby at the top of the scene, and her mommy, her mommy just juice, whatever you call it, just melted. I was just like, and it made the scene a little bit more special, a little bit more real. And
the audience seemed to appreciate a real baby.
There was always a
it
so
was
great.
appreciated.
It kind of became a joke backstage. It was like, Nancy would get ready. We start the scene. Okay, hand the baby. Nancy goes out. Cue the awes. Aww.
Moving on, was Stephanie's play I can never remember the name of this play.
The Trinity. Go for it, Mita.
The Charitable Sisterhood of the Second Trinity Victory Church.
Woohoo!
Rolls right off the tongue.
Oh, so glad I didn't have to say that in that play. Everybody else had to say it at one point except me. I did have to fake it once.
Well, this is the guy that kept calling the Dixie Swim Club the Dixie Swim Chicks. I'm like, oh yeah, I heard that Dixie Swim Chicks play is really good.
I called it the Charitable Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yes.
Because that's all I could, every time
I do like to add traveling pants to the title occasionally.
But that was a play about these women they were all going through some type of set the play up because it takes place they're having a hurricane or some weather, and it's very raining, so they all have to stay in the basement of the play.
So it's actually they were doing a clothing drive or a charitable thing. So they're in the basement essentially of the church, going through all the donations. So that's why there was a big heap of junk in the middle of the stage, and we were supposed to be sorting through, clothes go here, knickknacks go there, because they were going to do a rummage sale after the waters receded.
And lo and behold, there's someone hiding in the clothes, and this person is on the run, and but we're nice, and we've got to help this person.
Yeah, that's what you do.
But there's one person here who's not what she says she is.
No, she's not.
She's an undercover... was she a social worker or something?
No, she was a bounty hunter or something like that. Yeah, she used to be in the police force, but had issues because she was a female in the police force. But then she was essentially a bounty hunter trying to find this person.
So that I remember going to see it, and this goes into one of the funnier stories that happened between me and you. I remember this because I went home to Tamara and I was just like, I think I messed up.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And
you did.
Because I remember in the play, I was like, your character starts off with this very pronounced Southern accent.
No, you called it a horrible Southern accent. So for the listening audience that doesn't know, for some reason, Nichole keeps getting cast as Southern or pregnant. Mita promised me I'm not getting typecast, but it happens, and I enjoy it. So yes, I went
out. This was back when
I would like to point out, in Bloom, you were neither Southern nor technically were you supposed to be pregnant.
It just happened you were actually
but I was
pregnant.
Pregnant, yes.
Yes, and we didn't work it in. We just left it a mystery.
She's pregnant. People are pregnant. Keep going.
She's pregnant. Yeah.
No, I went outside. So your character has a pronounced Southern accent at the beginning, and then at the end she shifts out of her accent when she
reveals who
she really is. And I went out to shake your hand in the line back when we could, do that.
Yes.
And that sadly is probably something that might not happen anymore. It went back when the audience could go out and greet the cast after the show, and I went out and greeted you, and I was like, Nichole, let me tell you, that was some great acting on your part, Nichole. I really bought that horrible Southern accent that you brought forward, and then you shifted into a completely different character. I loved it. And then later on, you told me, you're like, I worked really hard on that
I
Southern
did.
accent.
As soon as you walked away, I think it was like Teresa was next to me, Teresa Rose, and I looked at her and I was like, I thought I did really good tonight. Because
I thought it was a put on. I thought it was.
I struggle with accents. There was, one time during Witness for the Prosecution, Mina, you're going to remember this one. She laughed her butt off. I was the transcriptionist, also known as a breathing prop. So I enjoyed that. Stenographer, that's right. So I enjoyed it. It was fun. I made it a thing. I tried to be,
No,
kind
you're
of
very
realistic.
no, I remember you typing away on this every time someone talked. You were very dedicated, and that's hard. You were listening the whole time.
Do you want to know a secret?
What's that?
Well, I had a baby at the time, the little ones, and I was tired. And when you sit on a stage, sitting, and it's nice and warm, you tend to fall asleep. So
What?
I was being dedicated to stay awake.
Yeah.
because I was exhausted. I had, Lydia was in the world at this time. So it was like I think Wyatt was an infant. What year was that?
Oh, I'd have
Yeah.
to look.
Anyways,
Witness for the
I've had
Prosecution was probably 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
So,
Yep,
okay.
February of 2018.
So this is before Lydia, but Wyatt was, 8 months old, do the math. So yes, I had an infant, and I was just like, just dozing off. So I did that, but I was really like, what would a stenographer do? Somebody starts talking, it's going to take them 2 or 3 seconds before they're going to actually start typing. And then when they're done, they're going to keep typing 2 or 3 seconds afterwards. Because that's really the pace of reality of, I say transcriptionist because that's, I've done that before, of taking notes. I've been an executive assistant. So when you're kind of taking the notes of something, you don't start right when someone starts talking because you don't know what they're going to say. So I was doing that, and that forced me to focus, and it kept me from falling asleep on stage in a very comfortable chair under very warm lights, way past my bedtime.
Yeah,
so
I bet.
that was it. But
That was a lot more dedicated than I realized.
yeah, it was. I mean, I got a lot of compliments, through the line of, you were so good. It was so realistic. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I'm glad that,
It's hard to listen for an entire play and not have any lines. It's a really thankless
But
task.
there was one thing, wasn't it? Like Darius was like, all he could hear in the in-ears was my typing. And you're like, stop typing so loud. I was like, I'm sorry. But
It's because you were right underneath the microphone,
Yeah.
pretty much, and so
and I was banging away. I was like, tick, 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 tick. Yeah,
so it was picking up her typing really loudly through the
right in their
Gotcha.
ears.
The inner ear
So
monitor.
yeah,
The
but
monitors.
I was going somewhere with this. Oh yeah, so accents. So during rehearsal, one person wasn't there for rehearsal, and it was the other woman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she wasn't there, and I was like, oh, I'll just do it. It's like 2 lines, no big deal. So I tried to come out in my best British accent, and Mita is laughing her ass off. Do you remember why, Mita?
I do not, actually.
So she comes out, and she said, that was the best Scarlett O'Hara I have
Scarlett
ever
O'Hara.
heard. And I'm like,
Was she British?
no. And I'm like,
She was from
so
Georgia.
when I want to do Southern, I'm terrible. When I want to be British, I'm Southern. God, what do I sound like Australian?
So prove it to me right now. Say,
No.
Come on. Say, how y'all doing?
Actually, how y'all doing?
That's much better. See?
But the kids watch a lot of Peppa Pig.
Oh, yeah.
So my British has gotten a lot better.
Much better has it.
Oh, much better.
If you're going to jump in muddy puddles, you must wear your boots.
It's not funny. It's just a bit funny. It's getting better. Was that Scarlett again?
No, that was not Scarlett.
Okay, so.
There is.
And Lydia now calls me Mommy Pig.
Oh, God.
So I just go,
Stephen watches Peppa Pig religiously. He loves it.
You mean with?
By himself.
Okay, I thought you meant with his nephews and.
No. That's how
No, I never miss it.
That's how it started, but he loves Peppa Pig. No, but there is actually a connection, there's the language of very posh English and old Southern, like antebellum Southern.
Yes, yes.
There is a link there, and so
there
if
is.
you do it just right, it's just slower, I think.
is that what my brain did when I tried to be British?
I think if you take posh British down and slow it down, it becomes old timey Southern.
Okay.
It becomes high class Southern or
Yeah.
something. You know?
So that makes sense why I can't do either.
You mean a type of Southern gentleman where it rolls off
Yes.
the tongue like molasses?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not necessarily Southern like us. You know.
Right. My
like
cousins up
Scarlett
north.
O'Hara, she's like, oh,
Yeah.
fiddle-dee-dee, you know.
Fiddle-dee-dee.
So
Yeah.
that was probably where I was coming from, because there is they're kissing cousins
Yeah.
between the two of them.
Yeah,
So.
okay. Well, I try to avoid.
Great,
There was
great-
actually
great reference when talking about the Southern language. There.
Yeah. Well, so what
Tie
was
that right in.
there was the one play, the Explorers Club. Explorers. What
No,
was it?
we haven't done that one yet.
No, but no, it was supposed. I saw it on the roster for
Oh,
this
yeah,
year,
yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, it's hilarious! That's great! Oh, there's the female part. Shit, it's British."
Not only is
She has to play two different
not
people.
only is she British, she has
Oh.
to do two different British
Nope.
accents
I
convincingly.
was like, "I'm not even gonna waste
she plays her
anybody's
twin.
time. I'm not even gonna waste anybody's
well,
time."
don't
showing
say
up.
that. Don't say that.
I
She,
can't.
she plays someone. I mean, they're both from a very posh background.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But one
They-
has gone rogue and one has gone
Yes.
aristocrat.
Oh, uppity.
Aristocrat.
Aristocratic
Uppity.
world,
Yeah.
upper echelon, and
Yeah.
Explorers Club. It's that I know it's one we had. This one we had to push back because of COVID and all that. And
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with that. I'm fine with that. I'm not disappointed in that at
It'll
all
be done again.
because that script deserves the full rollout.
Oh, it does.
That script
It
is
need- it-
amazing.
yeah.
It is a great script. That Explorers Club.
So we were talking about after the basement church play, I do believe was Witness for the Prosecution.
Right. We talked about you being a stenographer on that.
Yes.
And we've covered Witness for the Prosecution a fair bit on the show. We talked about the turntables and about the guy slitting his pants and all that.
Yep. So that was a fun play. And
Actually, Witness for the Prosecution was first.
oh, was that before?
That was February, and then Charitable Sisterhood was in June.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, there you
Got it-
go.
got it
So,
turned around.
yeah, you know when you
Five
when
shows a season, it's hard to remember the order.
Sheesh. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's why I have it up on my phone.
You could always tell what year I did a play by my waistline, whether there was a little bump or not, because like it seems like I've been pregnant for 4 years. So after prosecution, Witness for Prosecution was that Flung next? I feel like there's something before that.
We did Prosecution, then you did Sisterhood, and then
I feel like it was Flung after that.
Flung, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I was pregnant with Lydia, and because of my age, and you know, there's this terminology that when you're a certain age, it's I had a geriatric pregnancy, which I think is the worst terminology. It was like my uterus sprouted a gray hair when they said that. It was awful. So I did basically take that year off just to make sure I didn't end up on bed rest. Just had some kind of things going on with my heart and things like that.
Right,
So yeah, so it was Flung was after that, and that was my last play.
So on Flung,
yes.
no, on Flung, I personally I thought most of the cast in that show did an excellent job, and I thought the two standouts was you and Teresa.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I thought you really matured as an actress on that show. You showed me some different levels, and we talk about levels sometimes, and there's these. I got to create a chart one day of the community theater actor, tropes and stuff like that. But I always like it when actors find a new gear or find a new
Right.
level, because there are a lot of good actors that will play a variation of the same role over and over
Right,
again.
yeah.
Now, that one role is oftentimes wonderful, but there's really not another gear. It's just a variation thereof.
Yeah, I enjoy dramas. I really do. It's
Yeah.
kind of like you can almost bring your angst that you're going through, that you don't want to necessarily take out on people, but you could take it out on your co-stars and your castmates. And so Flung was definitely that, and it was one of my more favorite roles to have done.
Well, you say take out angst and stuff like that. What do you do? Now, we never really talked about this on the podcast before, but it definitely is an aspect of theater. Hopefully not often, but if you're in it long enough, it will probably happen. How do you deal with difficult personalities backstage?
Oosh. So I like to call myself a professional volunteer, as in I'm not getting paid. This is volunteer work, So when I'm here, I try to remember we're all family. You know, we don't always get along with our family members. You know, oftentimes your family you wouldn't even be friends with if you weren't related. It's the same kind of here. I like to think that I get along with a majority of people, and there's a list of people that I don't get along with, and they don't get along with me, and vice versa.
Well, that's why people stick around at NLT so much, is that there's a low volume
Correct.
of
Yes.
a-holes. There's just a low.
Yeah.
A-holes don't last long
No,
around here.
they will weed themselves out.
Usually.
Usually they do.
Usually.
But the true colors always come through in an individual, and it's just choosing whether they get to have that power over you and your emotions. So, I haven't had a conflict, like a face-to-face conflict with any of my castmates. I've seen it before. I've experienced it where, I'm a part of a production and maybe one individual not my favorite flavor. And I'm sure I haven't been somebody's favorite flavor during a production before as well. So I haven't had that or experienced that. I think, just kind of taking individuals with a grain of salt. Everybody is going through a struggle, a situation that we don't necessarily know what's going on in their life. And maybe we do. And, I've always kind of like, you got to take responsibility for your own actions. I am not going to take responsibility for Mita's actions. I'm not going to take responsibility for your actions, Matt. You're going to say what you're going to say, and Mita will say what you're going to say. But what I choose to do about that is my choice.
Yeah.
So with every family comes conflict in theater. My husband and I always like to say, if you want to see us delve in drama, you've got to pay admission at the door, because we don't do drama.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing, dealing with individuals that you just don't get along with. But I think, majority of people that do theater, again, I've only been doing it for 4 years, is like, majority of us are like-minded people. We're here to have a good time. We're here to,
be creative.
Express the art that we love so much. We want to get into our character. We want to have a good time. We want the audience to enjoy themselves.
Same question, Mita. What's it like, dealing with people sometimes when personalities clash backstage or there's a disagreement, either creative or uncreative?
I've never had it where it was to the point where I had to really do a confrontation or anything that I remember. But my whole personality, I'm so anti-confrontational generally as a human being. But I also, being on this earth for 47 years, I came to the realization a long time ago, you can be intentionally offensive to me, but it's my choice to be offended.
Right. Yes.
And I'm like, you know what? It'll piss me off, but I can ignore it and I can move on with my life and not let it affect me.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the easier course. And if it's really bad, you turn around and go, no, that's not okay.
Right.
But to allow them to live rent-free in your head,
Yeah.
Ooh, I
there's
like
no
that.
need for it.
Live rent-free in your
Rent-free
head.
That's a good one.
Yeah, where it starts to suck the fun out of it.
Right.
And that can't happen.
No.
Because if you stop having fun, then what are you doing?
Yeah, I have been in a situation where, it was just uncomfortable, and it did take the fun out of it, and that broke my heart.
As
like,
have I.
It broke my heart that this situation between me and another individual, won't name names or anything like that, but it's like, bringing it to the theater was just unnecessary.
Right.
At the end of the day, that certain individual that's causing that chaos or that discord in that moment, are they worth it?
Yeah.
So, and
you live, you learn something from it, and going forward, you make the decision to not put yourself in that situation anymore.
Yeah.
And you're like, nope, done.
Yeah.
And it's
I
one
wish
of the
I had
things-
as good a grasp of that as you do, ladies. I wish.
women. Well,
This ain't my first rodeo.
We're both quite a bit older than you.
Yeah,
I think.
just a smidge.
But women mature faster too. So
Yeah.
So I've heard.
It does take life experience, unfortunately. I would say 20 years ago, it would have been a different outcome.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that's
definitely,
interesting.
yeah.
That's it. We
Yeah.
never talked about this. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen, Neuse Little Theater audiences, it may come as a shock to you, but Mita and I have clashed before. We didn't always get along.
Ooh, do
Yes.
tell.
Oh, there was some stuff in the beginning. Honestly,
There's probably
I was,
3 sides to this story.
Well, I was.
I don't even remember.
The crux of it.
honestly.
No, the crux of it is I was. I was.
A little asshole.
Yeah, that, and I was depressed. I was a depressed
No.
teenager. I was a depressed person in my
Angst,
20s.
the angst.
I was a depressed person in my 20s. I hadn't figured out who I wanted to be yet,
Mm-hmm.
and Neuse Little Theater had a big part in shaping the person I am now.
We
And-
beat it out of him.
Came back for more.
No, it was more me and just clashes and how I thought it was supposed to go, and I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot to learn. And after years of putting in the work and shutting up
Mm-hmm.
and paying attention and seeing how the people who have come before me have done it and learning from that and paying your dues. You can't
Yeah.
just barge right in and say this is how it's got to be. Like, who the F are you, bruh? You know, these people have been here for 20 years, 30 years, you know. You've been
Yeah.
here for 6 minutes. You're not about to tell me how you're about to do things,
Right.
you know?
I
Yeah.
dare you to bow up against Sammy.
Oh yeah, please.
I-
Please do.
I'm still hesitant giving a creative idea. Like, if it's like, I have this idea that maybe my character, oh, never mind. And it's like, what? No. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I think maybe we could do this instead of that. And I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm like, that's great, let's try it. And oftentimes I'm like, they're like, no. I'm like, okay, cool. But I mean, just to kind of like speak on what you said, Matt, and it's you made such a valid point, I don't even know if you know, like the conflict between you and Mita, like you said, is you were going through some issues, you were going through some stuff, and that was kind of seeping out into your behavior and your attitude, and
It was.
and you were
question.
you were having a conflict with Mita, and personality conflict, and oftentimes that person who is so abrasive, or so, let's say they're manipulative, or they're just like condescending or rude or anything like that, it's sometimes that is just kind of like, that is the way they are. They're going through something, they've got issues, and oftentimes, some individuals they can't take responsibility of their issues and their attitude, and they're just gonna kind of like deflect it off of somebody else,
Right.
and then it becomes your issue.
Through years of hard work and dedication, and trying to better yourself.
Right.
I would hate myself if I had a window into myself back then when I was in my early 20s. I would hate myself. I would hate it.
But
and I've grown into
are-
this person
right.
that I don't hate anymore.
Exactly.
I genuinely like who I am as a person now, and back then I just didn't.
Right.
Well, and you learned, through the fact that, even though you rub people the wrong way, we all said, you know what, Matt? and you
We see the
listened to
gem.
us.
We see the gem. Yeah.
You
There's
listen-
people that have listened to you guys, and there's people that have not.
Right,
And I was
exactly.
one of the ones that took a step back and said, okay, what's more important here, getting up on stage and making your friends laugh, or establishing true, meaningful connections?
Well, and taking to heart when people, tried to explain to you, when it was inappropriate, or what you were doing was not quite conducive to you being a team player or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And some people never listen because they think they know they're right. But luckily, most of the time, the folks who come here do. And we're able to sort of, I'm a completely different human being than I was when I first started with the theater. I was
Right.
not confrontational or anything like that, but I was so shy.
Yeah.
The thought of speaking in public
Sure.
terrified me. But I always wanted to be on stage. So, the theater is just an amazing place to be a better person.
Even when you're giving somebody a critique or a criticism, it's the way that you do it. Is it coming from a place of love, or are you just
Yeah.
being an ass?
Yeah.
Or are you just trying to hear your voice?
Did you think I was being an ass that night when I talked to you about your accent? You can be
Oh
honest.
no, you were genuine. And what I loved about it was, like, you were not insulting me. You really thought I intentionally did a bad job. And that I'm like,
did.
and you were like, I was a little disappointed. I expected better of you. But when you flipped it, it was great. I was like, Thank you. And I was like, you were happy as an audience member. You enjoyed what I did. Cool. I mean, success as, for what that was my goal was for the audience member to enjoy what I did. Must have sounded differently in my head than once it got to the seats, but that's cool. But I mean, no, and that's what I love is when, Matt, I value your opinion because even if it's, a critique, you do it from a place of, I want to help you improve. Yeah. Even if you were like, that was a terrible Southern accent. I think if you thought I was trying to do it well and I did it poorly, you would have said it differently.
I probably would.
You would have been like, hey, maybe next time, think about this.
I probably would have found a more diplomatic approach.
So that's what, that's why coming from you, because I know where your motivation is just like, I know that you love theater, you have a passion for theater, you're doing a podcast to keep us all together and having, a really great time talking about it. You want it to be great, and you know that everybody on stage wants you to do a good job. So if you see something where it's like, you could have, I've yet to be able to do a play that you direct since I turned down the one that you cast me in. So
it would have been a different experience than now.
That's fine, sure.
As I've shifted as a person, I have evolved as a director. Too.
But I didn't take offense, but I was like, I wasn't offended because I knew what you were trying to communicate to me was that you thought I did a fabulous job doing this horrible accent and then flipping the script like the character's supposed to do, and it was great, and you just gave me positive feedback. That's what you were doing.
That's a great character choice.
That was great. That was like
that is it.
Awesome. No, you did not know that I was struggling with the Southern accent, and Stephanie was like, no, you need to be like a Georgia belle, a Georgia Southern belle. Did you hear a Southern belle, Matt? No, you didn't. And that's okay. So, I value your input because I know, one, you love theater, two, you love to help people do well in it, and because I know that you're a good person. If somebody else had said that to me, I probably would have been like, what an asshole. Why the heck would you say that
Rest
to me?
Assured, some people think that about me today. Don't want you to know.
But, it's 6 1/2 dozen. There's not everybody loves Nichole. Okay, cool. But at the end of the day, I don't go home to you.
Right.
You don't sign my paycheck, and you don't sleep in, my living quarters. So I don't seek out to have the day of I don't care what people think about me. But people that don't think highly of me do not live rent-free in my head.
That's right. And I think that's a good place to put a pin in it right there. And I love you, Nichole. And I love you too, Mita. No, I do. No, yeah. Mita's friendship is one I highly value, and I repeat, I really cannot do the podcast without her.
That's because I own all the equipment.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, and I got to see grown-ups face to face. It's great. So thank you so much. And I do miss the hut so badly.
She's still here. She's still here. She's waiting patiently. And pretty soon we should have some sort of information on some sort of show at the hut within the next couple of months.
Awesome.
I feel confident that we'll be announcing something along. Probably by the time you hear this podcast, you'll have an idea. There'll be some sort of announcement. So just be patient with us, dear listeners. Plug the dates for Play On one more time.
Okay. Play On with Center Stage Theater at the Wayne County Museum in Goldsboro, February 25th, 26th, 27th at 7:30 p.m. and February 28th at 3 p.m.
And tickets are $10 at the door. There is no pre-sale.
Correct.
There is no pre-sale. So if you're going, go ahead and get there a few minutes before curtain.
Get early.
Is it cash only?
Yeah, it is cash only.
Okay.
Cash only.
Mask wearing and temperatures at the door. You can fix that.
But yes, please go see Play On. If you want to go see some live theater, it will not be offered as streaming, so it'll only be available live. Go out and support this show. Our neighbors over at Goldsboro, North Carolina, and my good buddy Keith Parrish. So we want you to go support their show if you can.
And be prepared to laugh.
It's funny.
Funny.
All right. For Neuse Little Podcast, credits for the show are your host and creator is Matt Gore. That's me. Producer and sound editor is Mita Toole.
That's me.
And our music is by Cody Walker. Please look him up on Cody Walker Music on Facebook, and he's also available at Cody Walker Music on YouTube. He's a talented guy. Look up his music. He's also got a couple of albums available on Apple Music that are available to download. Just type in Cody Walker. You'll see a couple of albums available there. Give this local boy some love. And we hope to see you or hear from you again on another episode of Neuse Little Podcast very soon. All right. Thanks.